The Galactic Council had made its decision. Earth, once a small and insignificant planet on the edge of the galaxy, was now a threat too big to ignore. For centuries, humans had been quietly exploring the stars, making contact with alien species, and developing technologies that were far beyond what the galaxy's leaders expected. They had begun to grow, and that growth wasn't just about science. It was about power. And the galaxy couldn't let that happen. The Galactic Fleet, an enormous armada of warships, entered Earth's solar system in the dead of night. Their ships, sleek and intimidating, filled the sky, their shadows stretching across the Earth's surface. The fleet was there for one reason: to block Earth's expansion and keep them from moving further into the galaxy. It was a quiet morning when the world's governments first received the message. The Galactic Fleet had arrived. Earth's borders were now closed to anyone beyond their own atmosphere. The message was simple, yet chilling. This is the Galactic Fleet. Your expansion is a threat to the galaxy. You are now contained. Do not resist. Panic spread quickly. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one was prepared for something like this. Earth's military, although strong in its own right, had never faced a force like this. The fleet was far too advanced, its ships more powerful than anything humanity could hope to build in such a short time. Their weapons could wipe entire cities from existence with a single shot. The world watched as the massive ships settled into orbit, creating a complete blockade. No ships could leave, no communication could pass through, and Earth was cut off from the rest of the galaxy. There were no negotiations, no chance for diplomacy, only an ironclad warning: stay within your borders or face destruction. The President of the United States was the first to address the world. Standing in front of the global media, he tried to reassure the people, but his voice cracked with uncertainty. The human race had always been a force of innovation and bravery, but now it seemed like the end. Earth had never faced an enemy like this. The fleet was a symbol of the galaxy's power, and they had come to teach humanity its place. However, something in the president's speech resonated with the people. Earth was not ready to give up. Across the world, in every country, there were whispers of rebellion. The human spirit wasn't so easily crushed. There were millions of people who refused to accept this blockade, who refused to let an alien fleet decide their fate. Secret meetings were held, plans were drawn up, and Earth's greatest minds began to work. The human race had been underestimated. The aliens had assumed that Earth would bow down, that humans would retreat into silence. But they hadn't taken into account one thing: humans would never go down without a fight. As the Galactic Fleet continued to hover over Earth's skies, waiting for humanity to comply, small groups of resistance leaders began to form. They knew they had no chance of winning a direct war, but they also knew that human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and determination could change the course of history. The battle for Earth had just begun. The blockade was a wake-up call for humanity. With the Galactic Fleet now controlling Earth's borders, it was clear that things had changed forever. But instead of surrendering, something else happened. People across the globe, ordinary citizens, soldiers, scientists, and engineers, began to stir. Humanity wasn't ready to bow down to anyone, especially not to an alien empire that saw Earth as nothing more than a small speck in the galaxy. In every major city, there were rumors of underground resistance groups forming. It started small, a few brave souls meeting in hidden rooms, exchanging plans, and sharing ideas. But as days turned into weeks, the movement grew stronger. What began as whispers became a roar of defiance. Leaders of Earth's nations put aside their differences, realizing that this was not just a battle for territory. It was a fight for their very survival. Across the United States, President Davis held an emergency meeting with military commanders, scientists, and intelligence officers. They were all aware that humanity could never win a direct war against the Galactic Fleet. Not yet, at least. The fleet's ships were too powerful, their technology far more advanced than anything Earth had. But the president refused to give up hope. He knew that if humanity could do one thing well, it was to adapt and find solutions where none seemed possible. Dr. Emma Lopez, a brilliant scientist, had been studying alien technologies for years. She had worked on decoding alien artifacts and devices that had been collected during earlier encounters with other species. Now she was one of the leading minds in the resistance. Her team of engineers, physicists, and computer specialists worked day and night, using every piece of alien tech they could find. They had to create something, anything, that could give Earth a fighting chance. At the same time, military commanders were organizing strikes on the outer edges of the blockade. They had limited resources, but they had something the aliens didn't: creativity and determination. Using Earth's best fighter jets, they developed a daring plan to slip past the alien ships, sending small groups of fighters out to test the fleet's defenses. The Galactic fleet, confident in their victory, didn't expect such boldness. It wasn't much, but the attacks were enough to show the aliens that humans weren't going to sit idly by. Meanwhile, resistance cells popped up across the globe, in places from Europe to Asia, Africa to South America. Ordinary citizens joined the cause, driven by the desire to protect their homes, their families, and their way of life. A new unity was forming, one that transcended borders, languages, and cultures. It wasn't just about the military or governments anymore. It was about every single person on Earth coming together to fight. The world's media, once used to only reporting on peaceful events, now focused on the resistance. News outlets shared the stories of brave men and women standing up to the blockade, despite the enormous odds against them. The human spirit, once thought to be fragile in the face of such a vast galaxy, was proving to be anything but weak. Though Earth's future seemed uncertain, there was one undeniable truth: humanity had refused to back down, and that, in itself, was a powerful weapon. The Galactic fleet's presence in Earth's orbit had begun to feel like a permanent shadow, a constant reminder of humanity's vulnerable position. Despite the growing resistance, the aliens were confident. They had underestimated the power of human determination, but they still believed the blockade would be enough to silence any efforts to resist. However, the humans were not so easily defeated. For weeks, President Davis and his military commanders had been planning a daring strike. They had no illusion that this would win the war. But if they could show the Galactic fleet that Earth wasn't going to kneel quietly, it would send a message, one that could shift the balance. Dr. Emma Lopez's team had made a breakthrough. Using fragments of alien technology, they had developed a system that could temporarily disable the sensors on the outer ships of the Galactic fleet. It was a long shot, but if it worked, a small group of human fighter jets could slip past the blockade and strike at one of the fleet's outermost stations. As the day of the mission arrived, the tension was palpable. The resistance was ready. A squadron of 20 fighter jets, armed with basic Earth weapons but enhanced by new tech, stood by. The pilots were a mix of seasoned veterans and young men and women who had never fought in a war but were determined to protect their planet. Their mission was simple: get through the blockade, deliver a strike, and get back if they could. The first phase of the plan was to send out a distraction. A team of Earth's best engineers, working alongside the military, hacked into one of the alien communication networks, flooding it with false signals. This would create a momentary lapse in the fleet's focus, just enough to give the fighter jets a chance. As the jets prepared to launch, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. It wasn't much, but it was something. For the first time in weeks, Earth had a plan to strike back. The jets launched into the sky, their engines roaring with power. They were small and fast, designed to avoid detection, but this was no ordinary mission. The human pilots, skilled and determined, took their positions as they approached the outer edges of the Galactic fleet's sensors. The tension was high, but there was no turning back now. As the distraction worked and the fleet's ships began to shift their attention, the jets darted through the gaps. The massive warships loomed above them, their guns ready, But the humans had already passed their defenses. The jets were in. They reached their target, a massive alien station floating in space, built to maintain control over Earth's solar system. The fighter jets locked onto the station, their weapons charged and ready. The pilot of the lead jet, Captain Alex Mercer, gave the signal. With a loud burst, the jets released their payload. Explosions rocked the station, sending shockwaves through the fleet. The attack wasn't enough to destroy the station, but it was a powerful message. Humanity could strike back. They could hit where it hurt. The human jets didn't stay for a counterattack. They turned quickly, racing back toward Earth, their engines pushing them to the limit. The Galactic fleet, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. For the first time, the fleet realized that Earth wasn't just an easy target. The resistance was real, and they were willing to fight with everything they had. Though Earth's military had only achieved a small victory, it was a victory nonetheless. The humans had sent a message, and that message would echo across the galaxy. Humanity was here, and they were not going to surrender. The surprise attack had done more than just rattle the Galactic fleet. It had sparked a new wave of hope among the people of Earth. The message was clear. Humanity could strike back, even against overwhelming odds. But the battle had only just begun, and the humans knew that they needed more than just small victories to challenge the might of the Galactic fleet. Dr. Emma Lopes and her team of scientists had been working around the clock, studying the alien technology they had collected. Every piece of equipment, every artifact, seemed to hold some kind of key. But it wasn't just about weapons. It was about understanding how to harness the vast energy that flowed through the galaxy, something that humans had never been able to fully comprehend. One late evening, while going through old data from an ancient alien artifact found deep within the ruins of an old city on Earth, Dr. Lopes made an unexpected breakthrough. She discovered references to a power source hidden deep within the planet, a power that, according to the ancient texts, had been left behind by a long-forgotten alien race. This power was said to be capable of changing the course of wars, and it was buried somewhere beneath the Earth's surface, lost to time. The discovery sent waves of excitement through the resistance. The human military had fought bravely, but they knew they couldn't win a long war without something more. This hidden power, whatever it was, might just be their key to survival. President Davis immediately ordered a secret operation to locate the power. A team of military personnel, engineers, and scientists was assembled to begin digging deep into Earth's crust, following the coordinates Dr. Lopes had uncovered. The mission was dangerous. No one knew what they would find, but it was their only hope. Weeks passed as the team worked tirelessly, drilling deeper into the Earth's core. Finally, they hit a massive underground chamber, untouched for millennia. Inside, the team found strange, glowing structures, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The power was real. It pulsed with an energy so intense that it made the ground tremble. The air around it seemed to hum, as if it was alive. Dr. Lopes and her team carefully studied the energy source. They discovered that the power wasn't just a weapon. It was a technology that could give humanity the ability to travel across the stars faster than they had ever imagined. It could also be used to fuel unimaginable weaponry, allowing humans to fight the Galactic fleet on equal terms. The potential was beyond anything they could have hoped for. But there was a catch. The technology was ancient and complicated, and no one on Earth had the full knowledge to operate it. It would take time that humanity didn't have. Despite the risks, the resistance made a decision. They would use the power to fight back. The first task was to learn how to control the energy, even if they only understood a fraction of it. Dr. Lopes and her team worked day and night, determined to unlock its secrets before the Galactic fleet could destroy them. The clock was ticking. The Galactic fleet wouldn't wait forever, but humanity, fueled by the knowledge that they had found something greater than themselves, was determined to use this hidden power to change the fate of Earth. The first shockwave from humanity's resistance had barely settled before the Galactic fleet's commanders began to take action. The attack on their outer station, though not a major loss, had forced them to reassess their approach. For the first time, they were not dealing with a primitive species. The humans were resourceful, and their willingness to fight back, despite their limited technology, was something the galactic powers hadn't anticipated. In the vast war rooms of the Galactic Fleet, fleet commanders debated their next move. There was no doubt that Earth was a problem. Their boldness in attacking one of the fleet stations was not only an act of defiance, but a sign that the humans were learning and adapting. A decision had to be made. Some commanders suggested an overwhelming attack, one that would crush all human resistance in a single strike. Others, however, proposed a more cautious approach, recommending a final warning before any drastic measures were taken. The Galactic Council, the ruling body of the galaxy, was divided. Some believed that humanity should be wiped out, a lesson to all other species that defiance would not be tolerated. Others argued that a more diplomatic approach might work. Perhaps an alliance could be formed, one that would bring Earth into the fold and prevent any further conflict. However, the majority believed the only solution was to increase the blockade, ensuring that Earth could never expand further. Meanwhile, on Earth, the resistance was becoming more organized. President Davis had been receiving updates from the military and scientists working to unlock the ancient alien technology. They were making progress, but time was running out. Dr. Lopes and her team had successfully tapped into the energy source they had discovered beneath the surface, but it was far from ready. They needed more time to fully understand how to use it, and that was something the Galactic Fleet wouldn't allow. The fleet moved into position, bringing in reinforcements from across the galaxy. Massive warships, equipped with weapons capable of destroying entire cities, arrived in Earth's orbit. The humans had already shown that they would resist, but now the stakes were higher. The fleet's commanders gave their final orders: prepare for a full assault. Earth had until the next full moon to surrender, or they would face the full wrath of the fleet. The countdown began. On Earth, military commanders gathered for a final briefing. They knew that they couldn't fight this war conventionally. The Galactic Fleet's ships were too advanced, their firepower too overwhelming. But humanity had something the aliens didn't: an unshakable resolve. As long as Earth stood, they would not give in. In secret, the resistance leaders worked feverishly to finish their work on the ancient technology. Their hope was that if they could unlock just a fraction more of the energy's potential, they could use it to turn the tide of the battle. If not, humanity would face certain destruction. The world held its breath. The Galactic Fleet was prepared to wipe them out. Earth's resistance had just a small window of time to act before the final strike. The countdown had begun. Earth's resistance was working around the clock to activate the ancient power they had uncovered, but time was running out. The Galactic Fleet's ships hovered just beyond the planet's atmosphere, and their commanders had made it clear: surrender or face complete destruction. Humanity's last hope lay in the hands of Dr. Emma Lopes and her team of scientists, who were doing everything they could to unlock the potential of the mysterious energy they had discovered beneath the Earth's surface. Despite the immense pressure, Dr. Lopes remained calm. She and her team had made a critical breakthrough. After weeks of studying the alien technology, they had finally figured out how to tap into the energy source. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a power that could change everything. If they could harness it, they could not only defend Earth, but also give humanity the ability to travel faster than light, to explore and conquer the galaxy on their terms. The process, however, was far from simple. The technology was ancient, designed by an alien civilization that had long since vanished from the galaxy. But Dr. Lopes and her team had found a way to begin harnessing the energy, converting it into a form that humans could control. It wasn't fully perfected, but it was enough to give them the edge they needed. If they could just get it working in time, they might stand a chance. Meanwhile, the Galactic Fleet was growing impatient. The deadline for Earth's surrender was fast approaching, and the fleet's commanders were preparing to take drastic action. Massive warships, equipped with the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, were poised to strike. The aliens had underestimated the humans once before, but this time, they were determined to end the resistance once and for all. The tension was unbearable. Earth's military knew that they couldn't hold off the Galactic fleet for long without help. The weaponry they had wasn't enough, and they had no real defense against the fleet's advanced technology. But there was something the aliens didn't know. Humanity had just unlocked a power far beyond their comprehension. As the Galactic fleet began to mobilize for the final assault, Dr. Lopez's team made their move. The first successful activation of the ancient power sent a shockwave through the air. The ground trembled beneath them, and a brilliant light filled the room as the energy surged to life. It wasn't fully controlled yet, but the reaction was undeniable. The power was real, and humanity now had a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In that moment, something incredible happened. The humans had awakened something within themselves. It wasn't just the energy that had changed. It was their spirit. The resistance, once a scattered group of rebels, now felt united. They had a chance to fight back, and they weren't going to waste it. They had the power to turn the tide of the war, and they would use it to protect their world. The Galactic fleet may have had technology, but humanity had something they never expected: the strength to rise up when all seemed lost. And now, with the ancient energy at their command, Earth was ready to show the galaxy that they would not be defeated. The moment had arrived. Humanity had unlocked the ancient power, but the real test was just beginning. The Galactic fleet had gathered its forces in orbit above Earth, its massive warships bristling with weapons. They had given humanity a final chance to surrender, but Earth had refused. Now, the fleet was preparing to carry out their devastating attack. On the surface, the atmosphere was tense. The streets of major cities were eerily quiet as people waited, hoping for a miracle. The military and resistance groups were making their final preparations, knowing that this was their last chance to stand up to the invaders. Dr. Emma Lopes and her team had been working nonstop, perfecting the device that would channel the ancient energy into a weapon strong enough to challenge the fleet. Inside the underground lab, Dr. Lopes looked over the energy converter one final time. It was still unstable, but the modifications had made it more powerful. If they could get it working for even a few minutes, it might be enough to shift the balance of power. The pressure was overwhelming, but she held her composure. She knew that this was their only shot. If the fleet attacked before they were ready, Earth would be finished. "Are we ready?" President Davis asked over the comms, his voice steady but filled with urgency. The countdown to the fleet's final assault had begun. "We'll be ready," Dr. Lopes replied, though the doubt in her mind was hard to hide. She wasn't sure if the energy would fully stabilize in time. But they had no choice. The military had set up the launch platform near Earth's equator, where the energy converter was to be placed. Once activated, it would send a powerful surge of energy into the Galactic fleet's ships, disrupting their systems and giving humanity a fighting chance. The risk was high. The fleet might retaliate the moment they felt the disturbance, but Earth couldn't afford to wait. As the final seconds ticked down, the resistance fighters and military forces stood ready, watching the sky. They were all aware that their world could change in an instant. The power of the Galactic fleet was overwhelming, but humanity had something they hadn't expected: determination. And now, with the ancient energy in their hands, the people of Earth were about to find out if it was enough. The moment came. Dr. Lopes pressed the button, and the energy converter hummed to life. For a moment, nothing happened. The machines buzzed, and the air crackled with tension. Then, in an instant, a brilliant flash of light erupted from the converter. The sky lit up as the energy surged forward, streaking toward the fleet in a dazzling arc. The Galactic fleet's ships, unaware of what was coming, suddenly began to flicker. Their advanced systems faltered. The massive warships lost power, their shields and weapons going dark. The fleet commanders scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. Earth's weapon had worked. The tide of the battle had shifted. In the control room, the human commanders cheered. The first blow had been struck, but they knew this was only the beginning. The fleet might be disabled for now, but they weren't finished. The war was far from over, and humanity had just shown that they could stand their ground. Earth had fought back, and now the real fight would begin. The battle had shifted. The Galactic fleet, stunned by the unexpected surge of energy from Earth, was in disarray. Their ships were crippled, their communication systems failing, and their weapons offline. The humans had won the first round, but the fleet's commanders were not going to give up easily. As the Galactic fleet scrambled to regain control, President Davis and his military commanders knew this was the moment they had been waiting for. The resistance had struck the first blow, but they couldn't afford to wait. The fleet's reinforcements would arrive soon, and Earth's window of opportunity was rapidly closing. The military and resistance forces quickly mobilized, launching an offensive against the disoriented alien ships. They knew that their advantage was fleeting, but the surprise attack had given them the edge they needed to hit hard and fast. Captain Alex Mercer, the leader of the human fighter squadron, led his team in the first wave of attacks. His fighters, now armed with upgraded weapons powered by the ancient energy, flew through the chaos, dodging alien fire as they targeted the most vulnerable parts of the Galactic fleet's warships. For the first time since the blockade had begun, the humans were not only fighting for survival, they were fighting to win. In the command center on Earth, Dr. Emma Lopes and her team worked furiously to maintain the energy converter. The ancient power was unstable, and there was no telling how long it would last. But they had no choice. If they could keep the converter running for just a little longer, the humans might be able to land the decisive blow that would end the war. The Galactic fleet, despite the damage, was starting to regroup. Their ships began to regain power, and their counterattacks became more organized. The human fighters and soldiers on the ground fought with everything they had, but the fleet's superior technology and firepower made it clear that Earth couldn't win by force alone. Then, a new plan emerged. Dr. Lopes realized that the energy they had harnessed wasn't just a weapon. It was a key to something even more powerful. The ancient technology they had uncovered could be used to create a new kind of weapon, one that could turn the tide for good. But it would take time to develop. Time they didn't have. With no other option, the resistance made the difficult decision to gamble everything on a final strike. The energy converter, if fully unleashed, could either destroy the Galactic fleet or destroy everything on Earth. There was no middle ground. But if they didn't try, Earth would be wiped out without a fight. As the human forces continued their desperate assault on the Galactic fleet, Dr. Lopes activated the final sequence on the energy converter. A blinding flash of light erupted from the core, and the Earth seemed to shake with the force of it. The energy surged toward the fleet's remaining ships, and the results were immediate. The alien ships began to buckle under the immense pressure, their shields failing and their systems crashing. The fleet's commanders tried to retreat, but it was too late. The weapon was unstoppable. Earth had won. But as the Galactic fleet's last ships fell from the sky, the cost of victory became clear. The battle had been fierce, and humanity had paid a heavy price. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, Earth had proven that it could stand up to the galaxy's greatest power. The humans had shown that no matter how overwhelming the odds, they would always fight for their home. And that was a power the Galactic fleet had never expected. The war had ended, but Earth was forever changed. The Galactic fleet, once thought to be unstoppable, was now a shadow of its former self. Their fleets were shattered, their commanders defeated, and their influence over the galaxy diminished. Earth, against all odds, had emerged victorious. But the price of victory had been high. Cities lay in ruins, the landscape scarred by the fierce battles that had raged across the globe. The human cost was undeniable. Millions had fought and died to defend their home. Yet despite the devastation, there was a sense of hope that had never existed before. Humanity had proven that they could stand up to the galaxy's mightiest forces, and now they had a future ahead of them. President Davis stood on the steps of the newly rebuilt Capitol building, looking out over the city. The sun was rising, casting a warm golden glow over the ruins, symbolizing a new beginning for the planet. The war was over, but the work was just beginning. The planet needed rebuilding, and the resistance needed to be integrated into the new government structure. Around him, citizens celebrated the victory, but there was no time for full celebration yet. The work ahead was immense. Dr. Emma Lopes and her team were already studying the alien technology more closely, eager to understand how to use it to propel humanity into a new era of peace and exploration. They had the knowledge now, but it would take time to fully integrate it into human society. One of the biggest questions remained unanswered. What would Earth's place be in the galaxy now? The Galactic fleet had been driven back, but other alien species still existed out there, and it was only a matter of time before they realized what had happened to the fleet. Would they come to Earth as allies or enemies? Earth had made powerful enemies, but they had also made allies. There were rumors of smaller alien factions who had been watching Earth's resistance and admired their courage. Captain Alex Mercer, now a hero among humans, stood with a group of fellow veterans, looking out at the horizon. "We did it," he said, though his voice was laced with exhaustion. "But this is just the beginning. Earth has a new chance, but we can't forget what we learned from this fight. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." Dr. Lopes, standing beside him, nodded. "We've only scratched the surface of what we can achieve. The energy we discovered, the alien technology. It's all a key to something bigger. It's up to us to unlock the future, and we will." As the years passed, humanity rebuilt not just their cities but their place in the galaxy. They formed alliances with the smaller alien factions that had supported them and began exploring the stars, carrying the knowledge of their hard-earned victory with them. Earth, once a small defenseless planet in the corner of the galaxy, had now become a force to be reckoned with. The Galactic fleet, though defeated, had unwittingly awakened something in humanity, a drive to push beyond their limits, to rise from the ashes, and to stand strong in the face of whatever the universe had in store for them. Humanity had won their freedom, but the future was full of endless possibilities, and Earth was ready to explore them all.